Hello everyone, my name is Ryan King and welcome to this complete character creation for beginners Blender tutorial series. So in this beginner friendly Blender tutorial series, I'm going to show you the complete process on how to create this stylized penguin character. So in part 1, we're going to start by modeling the penguin's body. Then in part 2, we're going to be finishing up the modeling, so we'll be modeling the eyes and the mouth and finishing all of the modeling. Then in part 3, we're going to be doing some basic lighting and we'll do a little bit of texture painting and then set up the materials. Then in part 4, we're going to be doing some basic rigging and we will be rigging the penguin character. Then in part 5, we're going to be rigging the face, so we're going to be rigging the eyes and the eyebrows and the mouth and just finish the rigging. Then in part 6, we're going to be creating a basic environment and then we're going to pose the penguin and do a final render and then do some compositing to get a really nice finished render. And then in part 7, we will be animating the penguin, so we're going to have the penguin walking up this hill here and like looking at the camera and waving and then sliding down the snowy hill. So by the end of this tutorial series, you will know basic character creation in Blender. Now I am going to be using the Eevee render engine for this tutorial, especially because we're doing an animation and so it will render faster, but you could totally use cycles if you want to. If you want it to look a bit more realistic, you could totally use cycles as well, but I will be using Eevee when we're doing the tutorial. So this tutorial series is going to be completely free on my YouTube channel and all of the resources that you'll need to follow along will be free. Now if you'd like to help support me and my YouTube channel, I am trying to create Blender tutorials and Blender content for a living, so if you'd like to help support me, some great places to do that are over on my Gumroad store and my Patreon page. So I'll have a link in the description if you'd like to purchase the project files for this tutorial. And also on my Gumroad and Patreon, you can get other tutorial files. You can also get artwork project files. You can also get the procedural materials that I create and 3D models and assets and other Blender related content on my Gumroad and Patreon. And another great way to help support the channel is by checking out my YouTube memberships. So if you click on that join button next to the subscribe button, if you join one of my memberships, you'll be helping to support this channel and you'll also get some cool perks on YouTube. Alright, so let's go over the resources that you're going to need to follow along with the tutorial. So the first resource is these 3 reference images here of the stylized penguin. So we're going to be putting these in the background to help us model the penguin character. So I will have a free download of these reference images on my Gumroad store and I'll also have a free download on my Patreon page. The links will be in the description. And if you do download this on Gumroad, if you'd like to help support me, you can throw in $1 or $2 into the tip box and purchase the reference images, and that's a great way to help support the channel. And then to help us get some nice realistic lighting and reflections, I'm going to be downloading this HDRI here. So this is a free HDRI from polyhaven.com, and I'm going to be downloading the 1K version and the HDR version. So we will be putting this in the world to get some nice realistic lighting. And then at the very end of the tutorial series, we will be video editing the frames together, and then I'm also going to be adding in some sound effects. So if you'd like to download the same sound effects that I'll be using, then I'm going to be downloading 4 free sound effects from freesound.org. So the first sound effect is this gentle breeze, and this is just going to be in the background of the animation. The next resource is this footsteps or walking in hard crunchy snow, and we're going to be using this when the penguin is walking up the hill. And then we're also going to be using this snowboard sound effect, and this one is going to be used when the penguin is sliding down the hill. And then we're also going to be using this sound effect, and we're going to be using this for the little penguin's chirps and the little vocals that the penguin is making. And all of these sound effects are licensed under the Creative Commons 0 license, so that is super awesome, so we can use it for our projects. And I wanted to give a huge thanks to all the creators of these sound effects. So again, links in the description if you'd like to download them. And then there is one more resource that I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using my procedural snow material on the ground in the finished scene. So I have a tutorial on how to create this procedural snow. So if you'd like to watch that tutorial on how to create the procedural snow to use it later on in this tutorial, then I'll have the links in the video description to the tutorial. And you can also purchase this procedural snow on my Gumroad store, and you also get access to my procedural snow as well as my other procedural materials if you join my Patreon. Alright, so just just open up a new scene in Blender. Now, if you want to see the screencast keys, they're going to be right down here in the corner so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. So I'm going to start off by double tapping the A key, just make sure everything is selected, and then I'm going to press X and we are going to delete it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add in those reference image to help us with the modeling. So what I'm going to do is press 1 on my numpad, and that's going to take me to the front view. So I'm now going to press Shift A, and I'm going to go right down here to image, and then I'm going to open up a background image. So once you've downloaded the zip file with the reference photos, you can just extract the zip file and then go into the folder, and then you can see the images. So I'm going to first be selecting the front one because we were on the front view. So select the front one, and then you can click on load background image. And because we were on front view, it's now placing it from the front. And you also might notice that you can't see it when you're looking around in the 3D space. That is because if you press 1 on the numpad and go back to the orthographic front view, now you're able to see the reference image, but then looking in the 3D space, you're not able to see it. So let's go ahead and do the next one now. So I'm going to press 3 on the numpad, and that is going to take me to side view. And I do specifically want to be on side view so that when we add it in, it'll automatically be added in on the correct angle. So I'm now going to press Shift A. Let's go here to image, and then I can load in a background. And then this time we're going to select the side view. And also you can see that there is a align to view check mark right there, and that should be checked on default. So I'm just going to leave that on, and that way when we add in the reference image, it's going to be aligned to our view. So that is what I want. So I'm going to click on load background image, and now you can see that it's aligned to our view. So if I press 1 on the numpad, that's going to take me to front view, and then 3 on the numpad, that's going to take me to side view. So I'm now going to press 7 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to top view. And let's do this again. So I'll press Shift A, and we're going to go to image, and then open up a background. And then here's the top one. So just select the top one, and you can just double click on it to add it in. All right, so now if you press 3, 1, and 7 on the numpad, we have some nice reference images for modeling. So now let's save this Blender file. So I'm going to click on File, and I'll click on Save As. And so on my computer, I've created a folder called Penguin Tutorial Files, and I'm going to save all of the files in this folder. And I am just going to save this as penguin.blend, penguin.blend, and then I will click on Save As. And then as you're working on the project, you can just press Ctrl S, and that is going to save the file. All right, so let's add our first object now. So I'm going to press Shift A, and I'm going to go here to Mesh, and I'm going to go right down here and add a cylinder. Now right above me, you can see there's that little add cylinder thing right there. If you click on that, that's going to open up some settings that you can change to the shape. So I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to change the vertices to 10. So just change that to 10. And now you can see that that cylinder is much lower poly, but that is fine because we'll be adding a subsurf modifier to smooth out that cylinder. So I'm going to press 1, and 1 is going to go back to the front view. So I now want to go into edit mode to edit the object. So I'm going to press tab, and that's going to go into edit mode. And then I want to scale this out and start to shape it to fit the penguin. Now I want to be able to see through this so that I can see the reference image. So I'm going to go into the wireframe view. So to go into wireframe, I'm going to hold down the Z button, and then I'm going to move my mouse over to wireframe and then let go of the Z button. So I can now press G to grab, and I want to bring this down on the Z axis. So I'll hit Z. Let's just bring that down on the Z axis, and I'm going to bring it down about that far. And then I want to add a loop cut right here so that I can bring out his waist and make it a little bit longer. So to add a loop cut, I'm going to press Ctrl R. Ctrl R is the shortcut key to adding a loop cut. And then I'm going to click right here, and then you can drag, and I'm just going to drag this loop cut down and then click again to place that. Now I need to scale it up. So I'm going to press S, and S will scale that out, and I'm just going to scale that up a little bit. All right, I'm going to press A now to deselect everything. So I'm now going to press B, and B is going to take me to the box select, and I'm going to click and drag and just box select these bottom vertices again. And I'll press G to grab, and we're going to bring this up on the Z axis, and then I can press S to scale, and we will scale that up. So I'm now going to zoom in here with my middle mouse wheel, and then I can press E to extrude, bring that down, S to scale, and we are going to scale that down. All right, and that is good. So that's the bottom of the penguin. I'll press A to deselect everything, and then I'll press B for the box select. I'm going to click and drag a box around these vertices and let go. That's going to select those vertices. I'm now going to press G to grab, and I'm going to bring these down on the Z axis, and then I'll press S and scale that down a little bit. And then I'm also going to press Control R to add a loop cut right here, and I'm going to left click and then right click so it brings it back to the center. I can press S to scale and just kind of scale that out a little bit. And then I want to select this top loop again, so I could use the box select, but what I could also do is just hold down the Alt key and then select. And I'm weird, I use the right click select, but most people use the left click select, so you're probably just going to hold down the Alt key and then left click to select that ring of vertices. So I'm now going to press E to extrude, and I want to extrude this up, and I'm specifically bringing this right here so it's underneath the penguin's arms, and then I'm extruding it up so that this is now above the penguin's arms. So I'll press S to scale, and we're just going to scale that down. I can also press G to grab and bring it up on the Z axis just a little bit by hitting Z, and then click to place that. All right, so I'm now going to press E to extrude, click to place that, S to scale, we're going to scale that down, E to extrude, let's extrude this up, and then S to scale, we're going to scale that down a little bit, and then again E to extrude, and we're going to extrude that up, and then S, and we're going to scale that down just a little, and then E to extrude, and we're going to scale this one up a little bit. Actually, let's scale this down a little bit, and then I'm going to again hold down the Alt key and select that ring of vertices, and I can just scale that out a little bit. And then I'm going to hold down the Alt key and select that ring of vertices. I'll press G and Z, and we're going to bring it up just a little. Then I can press E to extrude again, and then S, and we're going to scale that down. E to extrude again, and then S to scale that down, and then one more time, E to extrude, bring that up, and then S, and we're going to scale that way down. I can also bring this down on the Z axis by pressing G to grab, and then hit Z and bring it down on the Z axis. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go back into the solid view by hitting the Z button, move my mouse over to the solid view and let go. And then I can click with my middle mouse wheel and look around there, and that's looking really good. So now we are going to be modeling the arms. So I'm going to press A to deselect everything, and then I'm going to press 1 on the numpad to go back to front view. Now, when I model this part of the arm, I also want it to automatically model this part of the arm. So I'm going to delete half of the mesh and then add a mirror modifier. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, go into wireframe, and then let go of the Z button, and then I can press B for the box select, and I'm going to click and drag a box around this half of the mesh. Then I can press X to delete, and we're going to delete the vertices. So now half of that mesh is deleted. So now what I'm going to do is click on add modifier, and I'm going to add the mirror modifier, and then click on the X right here, and that is going to mirror it over on the X axis. And then also I want to turn on this clipping button, and that way when I press A to select everything and press G to grab, you can see that because the clipping is turned on, the mirror is going to merge together in the center. Now something else that you might notice, if you zoom in here, you can see there is a hole right here. So that's because we deleted half of the mesh. So what I need to do is hold down the Alt key and then just select this ring of vertices. And then I'm going to press F, and that is going to fill a face right there. Then I'm going to click with my middle mouse wheel, just navigate down here, hold down the Alt key and just select this ring of vertices, and then I can press F again, and that'll fill a face there. All right, so now what I want to do is press 1 on the numpad to go to front view, and I can see that this one here, this is what I want to select. That's the face I want to select. So I'm going to just navigate over here, and I'm going to click right up here to go to the face select. You can also toggle between these selections by pressing 1, 2, and 3 on the top of your keyboard. All right, so I'm going to press 3 or click right here to go to the face select. And then if I press 1 again, I want it to be this one right here. So if I just go right here, it's going to be this one right here. So I'm first going to press S to scale, and let's scale this out on the Y axis. So hit Y, and I'm going to make that longer so that it fits more the size of the arm. And then I'm also going to press 7 on the numpad to go to top view, and I'm going to go into wireframe by holding down the Z button, and then go over to wireframe and let go. And I need to scale this up on the y-axis a little bit more so it's a bit longer. All right, and then I'm going to press 1 on the numpad, and that's going to take me to front view. And I can press S to scale, and I actually want to scale the whole thing out a little bit, and I'll press G to grab and just bring that over a little bit. So we're basically just placing that where the arm is. I can also press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and you can see the reference image on side view is kind of moved over a little bit. So real quick, I'm just going to hit the tab button to go back into object mode, and then I'm going to just select this reference image, and I can press G to grab, and then I'm going to click with my middle mouse wheel, click and hold to your mouse wheel, and then let go, and that'll constrain it to the y-axis, and I'm just going to stick it right there. So just about there. All right, that's looking really good. So I'm going to click back on the original mesh, and I'm going to tab into edit mode, and then I'm going to press 1 on the numpad to go to the front view. So I can now press E, and E is going to extrude that out. I can also press G to grab and R to rotate. and then S to scale. And we're just going to start to create that shape there. Let's press 7 on the numpad for top view, and I need to scale this out. So I'll press S to scale. Let's scale it out on the y-axis and make it a bit longer. And then I can press E to extrude. We're going to extrude that out. I'll press S to scale. We're going to scale that down. I can also press S to scale, and we can scale that on the y-axis and make that a bit smaller. And then I'll press 1 in the numpad to go to front view. I need to press G to grab, and I'm just going to move this back a little bit. You can zoom in there and then scale that up and just kind of get it to the correct spot. And then I'll press E to extrude. We're going to extrude this out one more time, and then I'll scale the whole thing down a little bit. All right, you can go to front view, see how that's looking. And you can see this is kind of squished. So what I'm going to do is press 1 on the top of my keyboard, or you can click right here to go to the vertex select. And then again, I want to hold down the Alt key and just Alt and select that ring of vertices. And I want to scale that out. So I'm going to press S to scale. Let's scale this out on the y-axis. So hit Y and just make that a little bit longer. All right, hold down the Z button, go back to solid view, and let's see how that's looking. That's pretty cool. So you can see it's very blocky, and so I want to add a subdivision surface modifier to smooth it out. So click right over here on the modifier properties. Let's also press Control S again to save our project, and then let's click on add modifier, and I'm going to go right down here and add a subdivision surface modifier under generate, way down here, subdivision surface. And that is going to smooth that all out. So if you tab back into object mode, you can see it's subdividing that and smoothing it out. Now, right here on the settings, on the subdivision surface settings, I want to change the levels, viewport, and render both up to 2, so it's much more smooth. Now, it's still a little bit blocky. It is smoother, but you can still see it looks blocky. So I'm just going to use the object context menu to shade this smooth. So you can just right click to have the object context menu come up. I use the right click select, so I hit the W key and then click on a shade smooth. All right, that's looking pretty cool, but you can see this is like very smooth, and I want to sharpen this up a bit, and I also want to sharpen up the edges here. So I'm going to hit the Tab key. Tab will go back into edit mode, and I want to add some loop cuts here, and that is going to sharpen up the subdivision surface. So I'm going to press Control R. Control R will add a loop cut, and I'm going to move my mouse till the loop cut is right here. Then I can left click, and then I can drag over, and then you can just left click again to place that right there. Now I don't want this to be super close up. I don't want it to be very close. I don't want it to be overlapping. I just want it to be pretty close like that. And you can see now that is much more sharp. So there's a much sharper angle there. And then back in edit mode, I also want to add a loop cut right in here to kind of sharpen up those wings. So I'm going to press Control R, and let's move our mouse right here, and then I can left click and then right click, and that's going to hop it back to the center there. So you can now see that wing is much more sharp. And then also, because we're going to animate this, the wing is going to be rotating. And so I actually want to give some more loop cuts right here where the wing is going to rotate, because where your character is going to rotate, it can help if you have more loop cuts so that there is more topology to rotate. So I'm going to tab back into edit mode. You can see there's only one right here. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. So I'm now going to add a bevel. So I'm going to press Control B to add a bevel, and I'm just going to bring my mouse out, and that's going to add more loops. And then I want to add 3 loops. So I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel up once, and that is going to add another loop in there. You can see if you scroll your mouse wheel up, it's going to subdivide that and add lots of bevels. I just want to add 1. So I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel down until there's just 1 in the middle and then 2 on either side, and then just click to place that right there. That's looking really great. All right, let's tab back into object mode, see how that's looking. So I also want to add the tail in the back here. If I press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, you can see there's that tail there. So I'm going to press tab to go back into edit mode. And then I want to go right here to the face select. You can also press 3 on the top of your keyboard, and I'm going to select this face. I'm now going to press 3 again to go to side view. And then I want to press G to grab and R to rotate, just kind of rotate that up. And then I can press E to extrude. We are going to extrude that out. I can press R to rotate and G to grab, and then S to scale, and let's scale that down. And then I can press E to extrude and S to scale and R to rotate, and just kind of place that where the tail is. I can also press 7 on the numpad to go to top view, and I can press G to grab. And I'm going to click with my mouse wheel to constrain it to the x-axis and just bring that in. And then I also want to bring this part in here. So what I'm going to do is go back over here to the vertex select, and then hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. I can press G to grab, click and hold and let go with your mouse wheel and kind of just make that smaller like that. All right, that's looking pretty good. That is a good shape for the penguin's little tail. Let's press Control S again to save. All right, and that is it for the penguin's body. So I'm now going to be modeling the penguin's legs. So to model the penguin's legs and feet, I want to have a new object. So just make sure you are in the object mode. So just press Tab to make sure you are back in object mode. So I want to add a new object. So I'm going to press Shift C. Shift C is going to take the 3D cursor and it's going to make sure the 3D cursor is in the very center of our scene. Because wherever the 3D cursor is, that is where new objects are going to appear. So I'm now going to press Shift A and I'm going to go here and add a cube. And then I'm going to press Tab and that's going to go into edit mode. And I can press G to grab. Let's bring this down on the Z-axis. So we're just going to start by modeling one of the feet and then we will bring the foot over and then add a mirror modifier to mirror it over to the other side. So press S to scale. We're going to press Z to scale it down on the Z-axis and make it smaller. I can also press S to scale and let's scale this on the X-axis and make it a bit smaller. And then I can also press 7 on the numpad. That's going to go to the top view. You can kind of see that shape of the foot. It is a little bit hard to see, but you can see it there. So what I'm going to do is actually tab into object mode and I'm just going to select this body object and then I'm going to press H and H will hide the body object. So I can now just select this object again here and I'm going to press Tab to go into edit mode. So I want to scale the back down a little bit. So I'm going to hold down the Z button and go into wireframe and then let go. Let's press A to deselect everything and then I'm going to press B for the box select and I'm just going to click and drag a box around the back of the foot there. I'll press G to grab and let's bring this out on the Y-axis a little bit. Just kind of bring that forward a little bit and then click to place that. Let's press S to scale and I'll hit X to scale it on the X-axis and we're just going to make that a little bit smaller. So basically as the foot comes out, it's going to get bigger, kind of like a webbed foot. So I'll press A to deselect everything. I'll press B again for the box select. I'm going to click and drag and add a box around there. I'll press S to scale and let's scale that out on the X-axis like that. So I now want to add some loop cuts in here to create the shape. So I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut and then I want to scroll my mouse wheel out and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel until there are 3 cuts. And then I can left click and then right click so it hops into the center. So I can press A to deselect everything and I'm going to press B for the box select and just click and drag and we're going to box select those vertices. I'll press G to grab, click with your mouse wheel and bring that out on the Y-axis. And then I can press A to deselect everything. I'll press B again for the box select. And this time I want to box select the vertices in the middle. I can press G and then we're going to click with our mouse wheel and kind of bring that back. So you can see now that is nice and sharp. So I can tab back into object mode and let's just see what we're working with. So you can see that's what we have. Now you can see it's very sharp and so I want to smooth it out. So I'm going to add a subdivision surface modifier. Now you could click right here and add a subdivision surface, but the shortcut key is Control 2. So Control 2, that's going to add a subdivision surface. Now the shape is really deforming and so we need to add some loop cuts to sharpen that up. So I'm going to tab to go back into edit mode and then I'm going to press Control R and let's click it to add a loop cut there, kind of bring this down and just add a loop cut right there. That's going to kind of sharpen up the bottom. Let's also press Control R, click to add a loop cut, drag that over, and then click to place that there. And that is going to kind of sharpen that up. And if you've placed a loop cut, but then you want to remove it, you can double tap the G key. So if the loop cut is selected, you can double tap the G key, and that is going to activate the edge slide. And then you can just bring that over and then click again to place that. All right, let's tab to go back into object mode and using the object context menu again, I'm going to shade this smooth. And that is looking a lot better. So let's tab back into edit mode. And I also want to add just a small little leg that's going to go up into the body. So I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut. Click to add a loop cut there, just kind of bring that back. And then I want to shape this so that it's a little bit round. So I'm going to double tap the G key, kind of bring this back a little bit. And then I'm going to select this vertex, hold down the Shift key, select this vertex, and then hold down the Shift key, and then select this vertex. So I can now double tap the G key, that'll activate the edge slide. I'm going to bring that up a little bit, and then I'll select this vertex and double tap the G key and just kind of bring it back. So now we can extrude out those faces. So I'm going to click right here to go to the face select. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and then I'm going to shift and select all of these faces right here. So I now can press E to extrude, and we're going to extrude up those legs kind of like that, not too far, maybe just like that. And then you can see that it's kind of making that big smoothing right there. So I want to sharpen that up. So I'm going to press Control R to add a loop cut. I'm just going to click and bring that down and add a loop cut right there, just kind of sharpen that up. And then I'll press Control R to add a loop cut again. Let's click and just bring that up to sharpen that up. All right, that's looking pretty good. So you can tab back into object mode and we now have one finished foot. So I'm now going to press Alt H, and Alt H is going to unhide the mesh that we hid. So I can now select this object. Let's press Tab to go into edit mode, and I want to bring the whole thing up. So I'm going to double tap the A key to select everything, and I'll press G to grab, and let's bring this up on the Z axis for like that. And then I can also press 1 on the numpad. That's going to take me to the front view and we can see the background. So I'll press G to grab, bring it up on the Z axis, just bring it up to about there. And then I can press G to grab, click and hold with your mouse wheel to constrain it to the x-axis and drop it there. And then let's press 7 on the numpad for top view. I can press R to rotate and G to grab, and we're going to stick that foot right there, aligning up with the reference image. All right, that's looking pretty good. Maybe just bring it up a little bit more. All right, so now I want to add a mirror modifier so it mirrors it over to the other side, so we have 2 feet. So just click on Add Modifier on the modifier properties. You can click on Add Modifier, and under Generate, we want to go right down here. It's kind of in the middle, and add the mirror modifier. All right, there we go. So now the penguin has 2 little feet. Let's also press 3 on the numpad to go to side view, and you can just kind of see how that is. Let's actually select the feet and tab into edit mode. And I actually want to click right here to the vertex select, and then I'm going to hold down the Z button, go over to wireframe and let go. And then I want to press A to deselect everything, and then press B for the box select. And I'm just going to box select the bottom of the feet, and I'll press G to grab. I'm going to bring the feet down on the Z axis just so that they're a little bit thicker, and then we can tab to go back into object mode. I'll hold down the Z button, go back into the solid view. That's looking better. So the feet are just slightly thicker now. All right, so I'm just going to press Control S to save this Blender file. And we just have one more thing to do in part 1. We're going to be modeling the little bit of hair on the penguin. So I'm going to press Shift C again, just to make sure the 3D cursor is in the very center. And I'm going to press Shift A, and let's go right here, and I'm going to add a cylinder. And then again, right above me, if you click on the Add Cylinder Settings, just open that up. That is going to bring us to the cylinder settings. And I want to change the vertice count here. So I'm going to just turn this down until it is just 6. So just change it to 6 and then close that. So I'll press G to grab. Let's bring this up on the Z axis, and then I can press S to scale. We're going to scale that down, and I'll press G and Z and just bring that up. So I'm going to tab into edit mode now, and then I'm going to press 1 on the numpad to go to front view. And I can press S to scale and G to grab. Let's kind of bring that up. Let's actually bring it up a little bit farther, because what I want to do, if you press period on the numpad, that is going to zoom into whatever you have selected. What I want to do is actually delete the bottom face here. So I'm going to click right over here to go to the face select, and then I just want to select this face, and then I'm going to press X to delete, and I want to delete the faces, and that way it's just going to delete that face. So I'm now going to press 1 on the numpad to go to front view again, and I'll press A to select everything, and then I'll press G to grab. Let's bring that down, and then I'm going to press 1 on the top of my keyboard, or click right here to go to the vertex select, and then I'm going to press A to deselect everything, and then I'm going to hold down the Alt key and just select that ring of vertices. So I can now press G to grab and R to rotate, and then press E, and E will extrude those out, and I'll press S to scale, and you could also double tap the A key and then scale the whole thing down. Just kind of bring this up like that. All right, so I'm now going to tab back into object mode, and then again, the shortcut key to add a subsurf is Control 2. So Control 2 is going to add a subsurf modifier. Let's tab back into edit mode, and I'm actually going to scale the whole thing up on the Z axis a little bit. And then I also want to hold down the Alt key and just Alt and select that ring of vertices, and I'll press S to scale and just scale that down a little bit. And then you can see that it's very stretched right there. So what I'm going to do is press Control R to add a loop cut and just bring that up, and then click to place that. We can go back into object mode, and you can see how that's looking. All right, so I'm now going to press 7 on the numpad to go to top view, and I'm going to tab back into edit mode, and I'm just going to double tap the A key to select everything, and I can press Shift D to duplicate, and then R to rotate. Let's rotate that over. So now you can see we have 2 little stylized pieces of hair. You can press G to grab and then R to rotate, and just kind of rotate another piece of hair like that. And then I also want to rotate this down. So I'm going to hold down the Z button, go into wireframe and let go. And I can press A to deselect everything. And I'm going to press B for the box select. And I'm just going to box select the top of the hair. And I can press R to rotate and then G to grab and just kind of rotate that over. So I now want to duplicate it again and make 2 more pieces of hair. So I'm going to hover my mouse over this object and press L, and that is going to select all of the linked vertices. And then I'm going to press 7 on the numpad to go to top view. So I can now press Shift D to duplicate, and then I'll press R to rotate, and I can double tap the R key, and double tapping the R key is going to enable the trackball rotation, and I can just rotate that over, press G to grab, rotate that over, and then I can press R to rotate, and also press S to scale and just kind of scale that down. We're just going to make another one here, and then I just want to make one more little piece of hair, so I'll press Shift D to duplicate, and S to scale, and R to rotate. We're just going to rotate that over, and just make another little piece of stylized hair. All right, so really just make that how you want. I'm also going to select everything, and I'll scale the whole thing down just a little bit. Something like that is pretty good. And then we didn't shade it smooth yet, so in object mode with the object context menu, you can shade that smooth. All right, let's take a look at that, and that is looking really cool. So I'm going to press Control S again to save, and this is going to wrap it up for part 1 of the tutorial series. So I hope you've been enjoying this so far, and I hope you've been able to follow along, and thank you so much for watching. So I'm going to be uploading one part each day of the tutorial series, so when the second part is released, it'll be right up there on the end screen, and also the link will be in the video description. And I'll also be creating a tutorial playlist on YouTube of the entire tutorial series. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in part 2 where we will be finishing the modeling.